When you look at the dragons, what do you see?
It's important.
What do you see?
I suppose I see us.
Tell me.
Everyone says Targaryens are closer to gods than to men. But they say that because of our dragons. Without them, we're just like everyone else.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They are a power man should never have trifled with. One that brought Valyria its doom.
If we don't mind our own histories, it will do the same to us. Targaryen must understand this to be king. Or queen.
Welcome back again for this week's episode of the wrap up, where we are going to be talking about episode 7, The Dragon in Winter, of House of the Dragon season 3. We had a few technical issues earlier with our live feed, so we're just recording this one and then we'll upload it later. But joining me today, as always, as we talked about a few minutes ago, Harris.
Glad to be back again. Yeah, a lot of technical difficulties. I don't know what the hell is happening with my piece of junk laptop or connection. But we're here to talk about House of the Dragon. We were rudely interrupted by technical difficulties, but we were talking about
not too far away, so at least we didn't get too far into it.
We didn't get very far at all. Yeah, because I had some questions. I had some things I wanted to discuss because I had some stuff. Yeah, but so we talked about Helaena with the dreams. You said something earlier about not being a fan of a certain part of her dreams. Should we talk about her dreams in its entirety right now, just to get Helaena and stuff out of the way? Because there was something I was listening to you, and I was interested in what you had to say about Helaena and that second dream with her dragon and everything going on there. Yeah, we already talked about the first dream with the going outside and shit like that.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about it again, since we're like restarting here. But I the way that I read that first initial dream was of her just envisioning like a more peaceful lifestyle at the Red Keep, not being disrupted by all of this chaos happening in the family. And I feel like, now that I'm like thinking about it a little bit more, the fact that once the gates open and this like huge like warm flash of light like comes in and kind of disrupts her peace, and then we cut back to like Rhaenyra, it kind of maybe that's what it meant, of like Rhaenyra being like so invasive in her space. Also we know like throughout the show that it seems like Rhaenyra doesn't like to be touched, so the fact that she's like being awoken and Rhaenyra is just like looming over and like shaking her, and I'm like, oh, like what have you dreamt about? Can you tell me what's gonna happen in the future, type of thing. I think it's all a bit connected, I guess.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Rhaenyra is, she talks about being ordained by the dragons, and we talked about the heat and the orange like lighting. That makes a lot of sense to connect that directly to Rhaenyra, especially as Rhaenyra is the one that has come and interrupted Helena's peace at the beginning of the season when she overtook King's Landing, when she overtook this area. She, even though we see it as like a coming back home kind of invasion there, it might feel more negatively invasive in terms of Helena's perspective there, especially again when she wakes up and Rhaenyra is right over her, asking her all these questions that Helaena does and doesn't really know as well. Again, Rhaenyra thinks she can just directly ask like, what's going on with Ormund? Am I ordained? All these kind of things. And Helaena, like earlier last week, she talked about Aemon being in Harrenhal. Like, there's certain things she knows that she doesn't want to tell Rhaenyra, but at the same time, it is a fearful relationship that we're having here, which sucks given it's the first time that these two are meeting.
Yeah, and like how you mentioned how like she wants to know all of these things about the future, but like that's not how the dreams really work. And also something that I've noticed with Helaena since it's a bit of season 1, but really kicked in season 2 of whenever she has visions of things, it seems that like she has to process them through like arts and crafts in a way. Like, we see her like sewing the stuff with Aemon last week, and even back in season 2, I remember one of the big talking points. was this before or after Blood and Cheese, where like she was like, I think she was like drawing on the wall, and it was like things that just like quick flashes of the future, and one of them is just like a man with like, I think it was a man with like a wolf head, which we know that's like Robb Stark from the OG Thrones timeline. Um, so so yeah, that's a bit of fun, and also just an example of like that's just not how the dreams work. But
Also, real quick, last season you helped me remember that Damon saw Helaena in one of those dreams at Harrenhal. Does Helaena, does it work both ways? Does Helaena remember that at all? Because she does ask, Rhaenyra does ask Helaena, like, "Hey, do you know word of Damon? Where is Damon right now?" And of course, Helaena didn't know, didn't say anything. But
well,
does she know?
I think it's the phrasing of the question. I think because
Okay,
she does ask like, have you seen Damon, like as if like in the present, as if like right now, and like obviously she probably
no.
hasn't, but it, like we know for a fact that they have seen each other through dreams.
Okay, okay.
Um, which is, you know, I still would like to see some kind of interaction between Helena and Damon, given everything that we know both of those characters know about each other.
That's probably never gonna
Um,
happen.
never gonna happen at this point. But yeah, that was the first vision, and then I think after the following one, when we see Helena again, is the, I was kind of like briefly talking about it when you were gone in the original stream, but the one with her giving birth, and
Yeah. When does this one take place again in the episode?
I think it happens sometime after. I want to say at sometime after some of the scenes with Alicent and
Okay.
Daemon, I
Yeah,
think.
it just jumps cuts to Helaena
Yeah,
having.
there's a lot of like thematic jumping in this episode. Like one of the, I thought the episode was gonna end with Aegon and Sunfire, and then it cuts to like the camping scene with Ulf and Ormond. There's like
Mhm.
a lot of like that thematic like themes of like, maybe not thematic, but even just like visual, um,
Yeah.
like similarities.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this scene was very weird, right? So let's parse through it here. Helena gives birth to what we think is like Maegor in this second
Maelor, yeah.
vision. Maelor, which is a child that she is currently pregnant with. I was like, oh wait, what? Because a lot of this episode, I'm like, is this a dream? What's real? You know, going back to the whole Aemon thing with
Yeah.
Allison as well. I'm like, what is happening? And it's like, okay, probably a dream sequence. You know, she's giving birth. Maelor, you know, is born, and then immediately do we cut to like the fields? Is that what happened, or do we cut to her on Dreamfire?
I think it goes back to back, right? I think it goes the birthing scene, then the fields, and then I think it's the dragon one, or is the dragon and the fields vice versa? I
Yeah.
forget. I think it might be the fields last because it's like the big, like, you know,
Oh, you're right.
the
You're right.
mist,
With
the
the
mist
winter.
coming.
Yeah. So she gives birth, but then she's on Dreamfire in a dragon pit. Is this a thing of like what's to come?
Yeah.
And we haven't seen Dreamfire at all. I heard you say you didn't like the Dreamfire design. I liked it. I thought it was like very colorful and unique. Like this was, I haven't seen a dragon like this in a long time. Ever.
I will say this episode in particularly, and it's not just that scene. I felt like some of the the budget was showing, especially with the dragon scenes.
Yeah.
This with this Dreamfire sequence, like the big fight between the four dragons, which I think just like the idea of it and how it's put on screen is really cool, but sometimes I was like, that's a little bit iffy, especially when you see like the actors next to like the dragons.
Yeah.
That's what really took me off of it. But like what I was talking about the Dreamfire redesign is that they told us that the dragon that Aemon almost got cooked by in season 1 was Dreamfire, and that dragon looks almost identical to like Drogon. It looks more like sea smoke than he does the new dragon. So again, that's what they said, that was Dreamfire. And like now we get this new Dreamfire, which I think if this was like the original design, I would have been like, oh, okay, whatever. But it was just very jarring. I'm like, okay, I guess this is Dreamfire. But yeah, I guess like the BFX didn't really hit it. And also it just looks weird. Like I mentioned, it looks like the dragon from Shrek, like the purple dragon from Shrek.
Yeah,
but
I thought it looked pretty cool. I totally forgot what the dragon looked like in season 1, because wasn't it partially covered by darkness? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's like mostly covered by darkness.
Yeah,
but you know, I don't like mostly the execution. It's probably mostly like a budget thing, but I do like the idea of this dragon. You know, it belongs to the queen, and it almost seems like it has like a crown, like the actual dragon has a crown. I thought that was
A
really
lot
cool
of different
visually.
horns. Yeah.
Like yeah, like spikes. Yeah, that was cool. But yeah, with going back to Maylor, the bird scene, as I was mentioning in the previous stream, it really reminded me of season one of well, not only Emma giving birth, obviously in the pilot, but also it reminded me of Rhaenyra giving birth to Joffrey in episode 6 of season one. Of her like giving
Mm.
birth, she just like went through this like bloody, super exhausting, you know, process, and immediately like the baby having to be handled to the queen, to Alicent, and her being like, well, I'll be the one who's gonna take it. If somebody's gonna take it, it might as well be me, type of thing. And wonderful scene in season one. But I got immediate flashbacks to that as we were seeing this vision of Rhaenyra giving birth, because she gives birth. It's even like shot very similarly on this like really tight close up on Helaena as it is
Yeah.
with Rhaenyra. But she gives birth. We like then pan to like the baby, kind of like showing it to the camera, and then immediately like being handled to the Kingsguard, and you can just assume that
Not good.
either it's gonna be like murdered on the spot, or just gonna be like handled to Rhaenyra, um, to deal with as she sees proper. So
Kill. or,
kill.
or sent to
And
sent to the wall.
yeah, and I was like talking a little bit about how like throughout the show I feel like if the transition between Viserys and Rhaenyra would have happened like smoothly, I don't think there's no chance in hell that Rhaenyra at any point would have been like, oh yeah, let me kill my siblings, even though like I don't even really like them or like
Yeah.
talk to them. Like I don't think she would have done that. If anything, if it would have gone into that, it would have been because of Otto and because of the Greens and like the whole plot of usurping, which is is the story that we're seeing unfold right now. Um, but even inside of this episode, later on with her confrontation with Damon post, Sheepstealer fight, um, Damon kind of like as a defensive argument, he's like, well, she's my daughter, like what would you have me do? And Rhaenyra's response of like, what do you think I am, type of thing. But I think we're starting to get to a point where Rhaenyra is becoming very desperate, where I do see a future where Helaena does give birth and that child has to be murdered, and like there's just no question about it.
Yeah, it's fascinating, right? Like we are seeing that slow change in Rhaenyra. And I'm with you. Like there are certain things that the show that I can glean from the show that I think Rhaenyra would and would not do. For example, it goes into this episode with like, what would she have done if the whole Rhaena thing happened earlier? If Damon came back in episode 4 and was like, instead of giving her the skull, gave her Rhaena. Would she have killed Rhaena on the spot during that tumultuous time in her mind? I contend I still don't think so at all. Especially what happens in this episode. But like on the contrary, that's a lesser offense than giving birth to somebody that can, legitimately overtake your own legitimacy. So like it's very touch and go. Because I think the whole Rhaena situation is again lesser than Helaena giving birth to a possible king that can overtake Rhaenyra. So I think even if Rhaenyra is like, yeah, your son has to go, I don't think that's like a cruel aspect of her character. It's just like what has to happen. Even Alicent is like, yeah, Rhaenyra would have to do that. Like I think any rightful ruler would do that. Or maybe not.
You also have to consider the fact, like, let's put the Rhaena thing on the side.
Okay.
Let's just look at Darren, at fake Darren. Like everybody kept telling her, kill him, kill him, kill him.
True.
She wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So but like again, like that's a different Rhaenyra. Even though it happened like 2-3 weeks ago, that was the different Rhaenyra. That's a more, I want to rule by peace Rhaenyra. And as all of these shit keeps happening around her, and with the gold cloaks and the people and the lords of the realm, I think we're starting to see her get to that point of like, I kind of don't give a fuck anymore. We even see it kind of sort of suggested later on in this episode. And I know we're getting a little bit, derailed from Helaena, but in her last conversation with Mysaria in this episode of like, well, I've been doing things your way and it hasn't gotten me anywhere, so I might as well start doing shit my way.
I really want to talk about that too, in terms of the whole Mysaria-Rhaenyra relationship, because it's very.
But again, it is connected to this vision of like,
yeah,
I do see Rhaenyra getting to that point of having to kill the baby.
Me too. And you're right. Yeah, you made a great argument. It's like, yeah, she didn't even want to kill Daeron, which is a lot older and could definitely more easily become king. She didn't want to do that at all. He was going to go straight to the wall. And yeah, so like I don't think she would have straight up killed Maelor. But then yeah, things are changing, which is going to make my rewatch of season 3 very interesting, because I have liked the slow play of like the slow descent for Rhaenyra. I think that is like one of the best parts of this season so far, because we are seeing that shift, and we are seeing her being swayed by not only her preordained I have all these dragons ordeal, but also the relationship between Daemon and Mysaria as well, and how that's happening on screen. So it is very interesting. It is a very, again, with Helaena, the whole bird cage scenario, you know, Rhaenyra is just like dangling over her constantly. It's a constant like threat. Again, the whole fearful relationship is really out in front. So it is hard to see. But yeah, so again, we go to the birth, the whole dragon pit thing. Is there anything to say there? Because me and Jalen were kind of confused, but it's just like,
I will say, like, I'm not gonna go into book spoilers for this, because it's gonna be a huge moment in season 4. But I honestly, I'm starting to be like, I'm like, how are you gonna fit all of these things that you still need to get to in 8 episodes for season 4, if it is 8 episodes? But anyway,
it's 8 episodes.
Yeah, it's 8 episodes. But I will say, and I feel like after this we should like stick with like the green children, because they are like sort of thematically connected.
Sure thing.
You know, we've been seeing Helaena since day one as this like poor innocent girl on Team Green. Out of everybody in Team Green, we could make the argument, and it's not even like debatable, that she is the most pure and the one that we actually like as a person. We might like seeing Aegon and Aemon as characters, but they're not like good people, and like Helaena is actually like a good person. But it, you know, in that scene, that back and forth between her and Rhaenyra at the during the opening of the episode, she mentions how like, oh, it is really tough for her as a dragon dreamer to be close to her dragon, almost kind of implying that the dreams maybe become even more intense once she's like actually with the dragon. At least that's how I read it. I don't know. But you know, you mentioned before before the last stream got cut off, but like how she tells Rhaenyra, "Oh, you have all of these dragons. How has that changed you?" And you know, we see Helaena as this like innocent woman, but like the second that she gets on her dragon, like the Targaryenness of her comes out, and she's like starts Dracarring people and burning people alive. Which again, I think it is a bit of a parallel to like that very powerful scene with Aegon later on, of like, we see them as these like weaklings, but like the second that they get on their dragons, or they have their dragons on their back, like these are at the end of the day very dangerous like individuals that tend to see themselves as gods. And even though we don't know, at least within the context of the show, we don't know the context of the scene of Helaena being on top of her dragon and having to burn people. Like, is she doing it out of defense? Is she doing it out of like malicious? I don't think that's the case. I don't think Helaena would be doing something like that. But it is something very interesting to talk about with the psyche of the Targaryens and their dragons, and what the dragons bring out of them.
Yeah, that's what's so fascinating, right? Like, and specifically in regards to, because again, Helaena points this right at Rhaenyra, who now has like, again, 6 dragons to her name. How much has that really affected Rhaenyra? But again, I think a lot of this, and I think the episode in general is telling us, like, on top of the dragons that Rhaenyra is dealing with, which is definitely a problem, but also, you know, there are human relationships as well that are having an equal amount of sway, influence, and stress on Rhaenyra as well, in their own unique ways, especially with Mysaria trying to get her hooks into Rhaenyra, Daemon having a back and forth with Rhaenyra. I think those human relationships are having an equal amount of stress and change within Rhaenyra, in terms of like not having enough pushback. Like Missouri is not really pushing back against Rhaenyra a lot, except when it comes to Daemon, and Daemon's always the one telling her about the prophecy, while on the other hand keeps like soft betraying Rhaenyra when we get to the whole Rhaena situation. So there's a lot of stress that keeps, again, like you mentioned, it keeps compounding on top of each other, leading to Rhaenyra to act so aggressive and so, out of character to people that she was like close to. Again, last week, asking Alicent to murder her own son. Pretty crazy. We'll talk about it. But like, even Alicent mentions like, you wouldn't have done this a couple of weeks ago. Like the stress is getting to you. So again, Rhaenyra is doing things out of character because of her dragons and because of just general human stress and relationships.
Yeah, and from here we do get to the I believe is the final vision that Helaena has, with her being in the fields, and this is how I read it, at least with the two children, because I did find it interesting that there was like a boy, like a full grown like boy in the mix, and I was like, is she envisioning like an alternative life where Jaehaerys is still alive, or is this supposed to be like a male or grown up?
I lean towards the first one. Like,
yeah, because the boy is like is the same age as the girl, so I'm like, okay. But anyway, so yeah, we see her like we finally see Helaena and her chickens with her chickens, feeding the chickens. But again, like it's just a reminder, and it's a good scene to follow up the one with Dreamfire, because we see like this very violent example of what Helaena could be capable of doing, and then we get this scene of her, or what she actually wants, which is like a relatively normal life, like a kind of like a farm girl type of life with her children. And then like the mist of what would you call it, like snow comes in, and very reminiscent of episode 3 of season 8 with the Night King summoning this wall of this wall of snow. So I mean, that's probably where the episode gets the title from. And again, just another example of the show sort of kind of tying itself to the main series.
Okay, a lot of season 8 references from Edgar this episode.
I know what's
favorite
happening.
season 8. Okay,
David Benioff, my hero.
Edgar kind of just forgot about season 8. No, but yeah, you're right. I did like this because I put in my notes, like literally in my notes, I was like, chickens. Like, this is exactly, in terms of dream sequence, this was Helena's dream, to be with her 2 kids peacefully on a farm raising chickens. But then, just like earlier on, where Rhaenyra was the one to be like that possible orange glow threatening scenario, we see here with the winter being that definitely in the future more of a colder threat facing all of them. But yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about this. It's just pretty self-explanatory for now.
But again, I think to wrap it all up, I am glad we're like, this was the episode that we gotten the most Helaena content so far in the season, a little bit, as outside of just like Helaena dealing with Alicent in previous episodes. I liked getting singular focus on Helaena. We don't spend that much time on her, but getting multiple dream sequences with just Helaena was very cool. I really like that. I think the actress is doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, shout out to Fia Savan, always doing great work with Helaena. But from here, do you want to move on to Aemon with another guy who's experiencing some type of visions, even if we're not seeing them? But
we definitely kind of did see something with the whole Alicent sex scene, right? What was that?
It's not really a vision. It's just like something in his head, but it did happen. It just didn't happen how he wanted it to happen.
How do you interpret that? Was that Alice purposely making her look like Alicent, or was that just in Aemon's head?
That's an interesting question, because at first I would have told you, like, as soon as we introduced this dynamic between the two, and Alice like looking down on him, and as we since then we've seen Alice kind of like play with him and like fuck with his mind a little bit. I would have thought, like, if you would have asked me like a few weeks ago, I would have thought like, oh yeah, this woman for sure is gonna make herself look like Alicent at some point, and do some weird shit with Aemon. And I thought that's what we were seeing here in this episode. But one of the first things that she says after that whole debacle is like, they're starting to have sex. What Aemon thinks is him and Alicent, and then Alice starts speaking, and Alice's voice comes out, and then her actual figure is
Like, how
revealed.
dare you? I want to have sex with my mother.
And then he tosses her away, and he storms out of the room, and as he's like leaving, I think Alice like just says out loud like, "What did you see?" Almost implying like she doesn't know what he saw.
Okay,
I mean, she could probably guess what he saw. Also given like the way that she treats Alicent once Alicent enters the picture. But yeah, like I think it might be just an example like the castle just like fucking with his mind and not really being like an Alice thing.
Okay, cool. I like that interpretation as well, but I'm liking this. Let's step back. I like the gradual. I talked about the gradual development with Rhaenyra. I actually liked. Last week I was a bit hot and cold on it, but now with this episode in context, I'm liking the gradual relationship between Alice and Aemond here. At first, it felt like a more mother-son angle, especially when he was so sick, and especially when he was like sick. Worried about Vhagar, one of his own closest entities for Aemond now that everything else went away. But then he lost Vhagar, and then Alice was there literally as like a mother figure when he was like bleeding out, cold, like feeling desperate and alone. Alice was there. But then we got last week where it turned more romantic and sexual with her, Alice, really pulling on Aemond's, feelings of grandeur, giving him the egg. So we will build an empire. We will raise dragons together. Really creating this more familial, romantic lens about like their future together. We are both cursed. We will both raise an army together. We will raise an empire together, a Targaryen empire together. Really, again, playing into his dreams, her own dreams, because they are now aligned, and again, more romantic. Then cut to here, and it's like that romance is starting to grow. He is still fully confident in raising an army of Unsullied, and I liked the whole weird love triangle that they have going on here, because he is still the motherly angle that they started off with in their relationship is still there. Like he's still dreaming of Alicent in a, again, crazy, interesting way. But then he still feels romantic relationships a little bit with Alice. It's very interesting, because I think those romantic things that were building up last week are now being challenged by somebody he obviously has another weird love with in his own mother. So his love for his mother and his love for Alicent are really like angel and devil per se. Again, Alice probably thinks she's the angel. Alicent probably thinks she's... Actually, I don't know what Alicent would think, because she's trying to poison her own son.
Yeah, she probably thinks she's the devil of the situation.
Probably thinks she's the devil, yeah.
And honestly, Alice kind of is the angel of the situation, because she, I really like this dynamic between the three. And we kind of like, I love how we're like skipping over like the whole Oedipus angle of this whole thing.
Yeah.
But Alice is the one who tells him like, hey, like she wants to do you harm. Like it reminded me of like that like very classical trope in like romantic movies of the evil mom who comes in to ruin everything, and the girlfriend is like, you're really gonna let her stay with us type of like situation.
Yeah.
That's like that's what was going on in that storyline. And again, like you mentioned earlier, like this was like a really goofy episode in some sense.
Super
And
goofy.
this is where a lot of the comedy came in for me, because even they're having dinner at some point, and Alice is like getting frustrated with the whole situation of Alicent being there, and she goes to the fire and she's like, "Hey man, there's not enough wood." And kind of like giving like, we need to have a talk about your mom, type of thing. Very hilarious. I love all of that.
I paused it so many times last night because it was just so hilarious. I compared it to like when your son goes to college or he's away for so long, and then you come visit him and he's with a new mystery girlfriend, and Alicent's like, yeah, the goth girl. And Alicent's like, who is this woman? You are not right for my son. Like, I don't trust her at all. And then Alice is also like, well, I don't trust you. You haven't raised him right. It's like, how do you know him? I don't. And then Alicent is literally like, I don't even know you. Like, what is your name? It's like, who are you? What is this? Like, I thought she was gonna flat out say like, "Are you a witch or something?" Like it was just so crazy. And then like you said, it's like, "Hey, can we go talk in the back room, please? Because we gotta talk about your crazy mother." He's like, "Come on, she's my mom. She can't do me harm." It's like it was so freaking funny. Meanwhile, Aemon is playing it so straight, but being like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna raise an army of unsullied children," and Allison's like, "I left you for like 2 weeks. What is happening right now?"
Yeah,
It is
like
comedy. I loved it.
yeah, kind of like let's rewind a little bit with the actual sex scene between the two.
Yeah,
We love to say how Aemon kind of wants to be like a mini Daemon, and if anything is implied about Daemon, Aemon is the one who actually does the deed. Daemon is was always, oh, he wants to dethrone his brother. He hates his brother. Blah 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 blah. He doesn't. He loves him. But everybody just keeps having this image of him. And Aemon is the one who actually does all of those things. So
and he admits to it to Alicent. Or
yeah. But not even that. Like even though it's a vision or some kind of fucked up dream thing, shape-shifting dream happening here with Alicent at the beginning with his storyline in this episode. With Daemon, when we find out that he was having sex with his mom, he didn't know that was his mom. Like he mentions later in this episode, he was 3 years old when she died. It's not like there's like vintage photos like running around in Westeros. Like there's no way for him to really know what his mom looked like. Mm-hmm. So even though it is shocking and it does fit Daemon's character of him wanting to keep like the Targaryen blood pure with the whole mom thing of it all, he's immediately weirded out by it. He's not like, he's not into it. Like you can clearly see he's not into it back in season 2. He like storms out of the room or whatever happens in there. But like here with Aemon, again, even though it's a vision, he sees Alicent. He starts, they start getting close to each other. And he actually does the deed. Again, it's not actually Alicent, but he thinks that it's Alicent. And he doesn't care because he's actually into this shit. Yeah. And so that's interesting in and of itself. But we're talking about classical, like almost like romantic tropes with Alice and Aemon. This applies to real life too, not just to the show. But there's this saying that when you first start dating other people, and you fall in love for the first time with somebody, that your first love tends to be somebody who basically reminds you of one of your parents, just because it feels familiar. And the fact that the first person who Aemon is sort of kind of falling for or having some kind of romantic relationship with is somebody who is a very motherly figure to him, who is mothering him, who is like, taking care of him, or how he wished he was like, treated as a child, even though even from season 1, it is very clear that Aemon kind of is the favorite out of the boys, because Alicent keeps like defending him from everybody else, including Aegon.
Initially, post time skip, that kind of changes a little bit.
Yeah. So again, like very interesting, just dynamic between this dynamic between the three of them.
That's a great point that I totally forgot as well. Is that like Alicent did kind of like baby and protect Aemon, and that really, especially during his darkest moment when he lost an eye. Like that was one of his darkest moments, and one of the only people there for him in that scene is Alicent. She was furious. She was so worried about Aemon. You can tell that really had a big effect on him. And even though Alicent and Aemon kind of grew separated in season 1 post time skip, and especially when he got Vhagar and nearly killed Aegon, they began to separate even more, even though Aemon's love for her was still super, super strong. Again, Aemon was the one that kicked her out of the small council, even though he loved Alicent. It was a very complex relationship. But on the other hand, like you said, Alice is the one giving him, in a motherly fashion, everything he ever asked for. A family, that close love, and just a lot of affirmation and affections. This is a guy who dreamed of like having a bigger rule complex. When he was head of King's Landing, that was like his thing. He really wanted to do that kind of stuff. And Alice is giving him a second chance just over at Harrenhal. And I do like how he said, "Mom, you were the one who told me to make Harrenhal my own. Like this will be the seat of a new empire, which again is something. If there's one thing that Aemon loves besides his own mother, it's starting a new empire with him at the seat of the table. And Alice is giving him all of that and more with 6 dragons, or with a lot of those dragon eggs. So it is a very interesting thing. He's getting a lot of what he really desired from his own mother in Alice. And I just really love this relationship. And Alice and Alicent are very like, especially in this episode, like no nonsense kind of women. Like Alice is a very strong woman, and then she's always like, she's not going to take shit from Aemond, and neither was Alicent. So just very, very good stuff here. But sticking with this relationship and this storyline in general, like we mentioned, Aemond is super trusting of of Alicent. And Alicent does actually commit the deed, which was, in my opinion, shocking to me. I didn't think she'd be the one to kill her own son. But then, reflecting on the episode, she was definitely willing to sell Aegon off to Rhaenyra before she learned that Aegon had disappeared. She was going to sell Aegon off and was willing and ready for Aegon to die, even if he was crippled. It was like, hey, yep, this is a fair trade. I will just sell my son to Rhaenyra. So then thinking about that, and then looking back at Aemond, I was like, okay, she is fearful of Aemond, but there might be something there that like she can't ultimately go through with it, but she does. And then we see her. She had a protector that Aemond killed earlier in the episode. She sees the flowers. What were they called? The poison.
I think it's what they make milk of the puppy. I think. I think she mentioned something like that, right? Or moon tea or something like that later on. Yeah.
It's some of those leaves, but
it's how they make spice wine. That's what she said.
Exactly. She what's it called? She put out the dagger first, but then she looked at the flowers. She puts it in the wine, and then it spiked. And I swore that Alice was going to come in the room and just like, don't drink it or something like that. Don't do that. But no, Aemond does.
I actually like it that she lets it happen, because I feel like Alice kind of knows everything that happens at the castle, and I feel like she would know that this was happening one way or another, and the fact that she's letting it happen just to show Aemond of what his own mother would be capable of, so he becomes more reliant on Alice. So she's the only one who he can like totally trust. I thought that was like really, really fascinating. And even when he comes in and he's like all like drunk or whatever, and he's like, idiot,
he's dying. But this is where I think it's interesting. So Alicent poisons and dips leaves, thinking she has now killed her other son, Aemond. This is where things get interesting. All throughout the season is like, is Aemond dead or alive? Nobody can find Aemond. Now we have a part 2 to that, where Aemond is now thought to be dead. Alicent's going to come back and be like, I killed my son. How is Alice going to work this? She's obviously going to heal Aemond back, but like, is she also going to like keep this hidden? Is she not going to refute the fact that like, if the realm thinks Aemond is dead now that Alicent said she killed her son, is Alice going to roll with that as her and Aemond continue to sit idly by and just like grow their forces or whatever they have there? I think she will. Just keep things on the hush and hush.
Yeah, I mean, you went to the Alice thing of it all. My first thought was, what will Rhaenyra think about it when Aemond shows up alive? Even though Alicent most likely will be like, I killed him, I did the deed, and then obviously he's not.
True, that's a good point. Again, with Rhaenyra, probably nothing. Probably talk to them.
At this point, if she hasn't killed Alicent, she's never gonna do it.
She's never gonna do it. She hasn't killed, and we'll see what happens with Rhaena maybe next week. But yeah, it's like she's not killing anybody. So that's that. She'll let her guards do it. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that would be a very, very interesting scene to see what happens there. But yeah,
so that's Aemond. Do you want to move on to the last child? Well, actually, penultimate child, I guess, because we also have Darren, but that's more tied to Tumbleton.
Okay. But Aegon here.
Aegon. They're still on the road. They're presumably wanting to go to take one of the ships to Essos, as Larys implied last week, and that's the plan that Aegon chose to go with. But all of these people, all of these commoners start like storming out of the direction that they're going to, because there's an army coming from the Riverlands, and I really like this because it is a reversal of what we saw last week of Aegon kind of like testing Tylan with the whole, do you think I'm a good person? Do you think I'm a good king? And Tylan just kind of like bumbling a bunch of stupid shit. And this week, it's not so much a test, but more so like, they're put on the spot with something like they didn't expect, with an army coming their way. And this decision that the three of them have to make of, well, let's turn around and hide somewhere, or let's try to go to Rook's Rest. That's probably not going to work because they're probably already there. Or the option that Aegon wants to go with is, if they're gonna find me and if they're gonna kill me, at least let me go out on my own terms, type of thing. And he kind of gives them an ultimatum, kind of like last week, of, do you guys want to come with me, or if not, then so be it, I'll go by myself. And this time around, Tylan is the one who stands up and stays by his side. And I found the whole thing with Larys interesting because I couldn't really tell if it was him kind of like cowarding and using his loyalty as a matter of like shielding his cowardness, of like, oh, I'll be the one who will sing the songs of your bravery, your grace, or if he's actually having like some kind of plan, or just like kind of like playing both sides type of thing. I guess you can never really tell with Larys, but what did you think about this whole little?
I was confused too. I can never really tell with Larys. I thought he was using reverse psychology, being like, I can't come with you unless you think differently, Your Grace, or whatever. It was like trying to give him an out, but no, Aegon was like, you can't leave. So yeah, he was like, I'll sing your glory. I could never really tell. This whole time he wanted to bring Aegon to safety over at Braavos, and I figured, okay, he wanted to keep Aegon safe for when it was a good time to come back. And when he comes back, Larys will have the strongest connection to Aegon, and maybe have some influence there. But then he just leaves, fully thinking that Aegon will just die here. Aegon and Tylan will just die here. So that was surprising. I don't know what what Larys is playing at here.
And you could see Aegon's like a little bit sad, like bumped about it too.
You can definitely tell, yeah, like he's sad because they've had this big relationship. They've grown together so well this past couple of seasons, even though they're like a comedic duo. They've had grown closer. But then I respect Tylan as well. Tylan, who stands by Aegon, I was like, okay, I'll go down the ship with you. Somebody who is always like, let's go to Castle Rock, let's go to Rook's Rest. Like, he's always thinking of other options. But no, at the end of the day, he stays with Aegon. And what makes this scenario even more interesting is that the army coming after them isn't after Aegon. They're after Tylan, because they're also looking for the whole like money scenario. Where did you hide the gold, Tylan? So that was an interesting switch. Like, Aegon didn't even have to do all this because they weren't looking for Aegon. They would have passed Aegon by, if he would have yielded. They would have passed him on by. But then they were the ones like, oh wait, that's Tylan. Like, okay, you're the ones who we were looking for anyways here on our way with Queen Rhaenyra. So that kind of created an interesting dynamic I didn't see coming. It's like, oh, they're all scared. They're looking for Aegon. Did we get found out? Whatever. But no, it's just Tylan. And we still don't know where the gold is.
And does he know where the gold is?
Probably not. Which is why, episode 1, I would have raided Castle Rock and tortured everybody there and be like, where is the damn gold? Y'all have to know where it is. But no, we're still poor. But yeah, Tylan stays with him. And just what a phenomenal, we can just cut to the end here with a phenomenal Sunfire Aegon disfigured Sunfire scene. I saw it coming because I was like, what's going to happen here? But the whole season, I was like, they're not going to Braavos. Something will stop them from going to Braavos. And it turns out Aegon standing his ground, Sunfire coming. What do we make of this? So this is very interesting here because this whole season, even though it was mostly used for comedy, some of the most heartfelt parts of this season had been Aegon and Larys. Do you think I'm a terrible man? And then Larys going in on Aegon and being like, yeah, you are a terrible person. A sense of Aegon growing, but then Thailand comes back into play. We see Aegon viciously kill the one beggar from Rook's Rest, like, call me your grace. So that feeling of your grace, that feeling of, I am the king of the realm. Even though it was kind of waning with Larys, it kind of regained itself again with the return of Thailand, somebody who was also very loyal. And then we see it become even bigger now that Sunfire is here. We compared this to Aemond and Vhagar, how Aemond gets even larger feelings of grandeur when he's next to Vhagar. That's also obviously happening with Sunfire and Aegon. So Aegon, who was willing and ready to go to Bravo, step away from it all for now, for a time, now has Sunfire, even though Sunfire is kind of disfigured. Like, what do we think?
Just like him.
Just like him, two disfigured beings are back on the rise. But are they on the rise? What's next for Aegon here? This is very interesting.
Yeah, I'm so fucking relieved that I can say that Sunfire is alive, because the show has been like keeping this
like
mystery of like, oh, is he alive? Is he dead? It's like, we know, like, come on. But also,
he looked like shit in episode like 3 or 4. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, but like one of the fun things about, I kind of like talking about this last week, about how sometimes George will introduce characters or will like develop storylines with like a sentence or two, but those sentences are so impactful, they're so reminiscent, they stick with you. And one of the things that happens in Fire and Blood is that we don't really know the whereabouts of Aegon, but we know the whereabouts of Sunfire, and we actually follow his like recovery process in Fire and Blood. Like, people keep talking about how there's like a dragon in the Riverlands. He's like feeding off of like whatever is around. Like it's almost like a Rocky type of montage of like about Sunfire, like like a recovering type of thing in the Riverlands. So even though we don't know about Aegon's whereabouts, we know about Sunfire, and it's kind of like the reverse here in the show, where Sunfire is just like laying somewhere and until he isn't, and Aegon is the one who's going through like this, not necessarily like recovery process, but just I guess experiencing the low life of the common people. But you compared it to Aemon. I would also compare it to that one scene with Helaena in this episode. But what to answer your question of what does this mean for Aegon, the way that he's laughing is such like a evil laugh, like such a like a classical, like maniacal type of thing. And the way that I read it, immediately, in season 2 and all the way up to this point, Rhaenyra keeps viewing Adam claiming sea smoke as this omen of like a dragon came to me, and this means that I'm worthy of the thing that I'm pursuing.
True.
I kind of read that the same here with Aegon, of like, he's been like kicked to the floor constantly. He's literally facing what he thinks is going to be his death, and in his moment of most need, there's a dragon that comes to him, just like Rhaenyra in her moment of most need, a dragon comes to her. But the difference is, even though Rhaenyra has been going through this like darker path, as like very slowly, when she got Adam and when she got Sea Smoke, she saw it as a good thing, and she tried to use it for quote unquote a good thing. Aegon is gonna be the complete opposite of this. Like, even though what he does immediately when he sees like Sunfire, he like immediately smiles and he just turns and like Sunfire Dracarys, like he's like just like manically laughing. So I think what this entails is him embracing that persona that Larys told him he was. You're a terrible king, but even worse, you're a terrible man. And I think this is him embracing that. Which also another interesting thing, like Aegon does eventually come back into the story in the books, but we don't really see his whereabouts. And a lot of this show has been like telling us what his whereabouts are. I wonder, because we do see in the preview that people mention that he's alive, and everybody knows that he's alive.
Aegon.
Like, I don't know if you remember in the preview, like somebody mentions to Rhaenyra, like, "Oh, Aegon is alive" or whatever.
Interesting. Okay.
That's interesting to me because it changes some of the structure of what's to come with Aegon and Rhaenyra a little bit. Again, it's a big like plot twist moment of Rhaenyra like finding out that Aegon is alive in the books, and here it just seems like it's just a known thing across the realm. And obviously, that's just gonna throw everything on like under the bus, not just Rhaenyra, but also Ormond's plan, like of putting Darren as king. Like he already commissioned these coins, and like the king that was already named is still alive somewhere in the Riverland. So
that shitty ass coin.
Yeah, so it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. Again, like I don't hate the choice. This is one of these changes from the books where I'm like, okay, you have my attention, type of thing. So okay, I'm really excited.
Because Aegon, I like what you phrased there. Because again, Aegon, to really summarize Aegon's journey this season, it's like him not coming into his own, but like, how do I say, like understanding his terribleness,
being self-aware.
Thank you. Being self-aware about his true nature, and for one half, you could think like, oh, maybe that'll cause him to be a slightly better person. But again, last week was like, call me your grace. Like, no, that maniacal evilness is still there, even though it is fun to watch. But now he is like maniacally laughing. And I like what you said a lot. Like he is truly being self-aware, truly cementing himself as a terrible person, but also as a terrible person who has a rightful claim to the throne in his mind. So does that leave him as like, okay, because earlier on, one of his main goals was to go to Aemond, right? To seek revenge on Aemond. Is that still one of his plans to go for the Harrenhal? Now that he's a dragon, maybe? Or could he go to Old Town, to his family's den, to recuperate there? Did he go to Tumbleton? I doubt it. He doesn't even know what's going on at Tumbleton, I don't think. That could happen, but I doubt it. But like, I think a smart scenario, not that Aegon is the smartest tool in the shed, would be go to Old Town to like, go to your home, recoup your forces there, just like Gwaine was going to do, and bide your time there to people who are loyal to you. That might be where Tyland says like, okay, let's do that. By the way, awesome scenario where he like Dracarys and Tyland turned around and just like stamps his sword down, and like it was just a very cool all in one motion shot. I love that shit. And Tyland's like, oh shit, like it was just so cool. It was so cool. And
I love Tyland. Like this show is really making me a fan of Tyland.
Tyland is always like that. Like he reminds me of like the straight guy. What's the guy? What's the guy from DTF? The what's his name? The actor from Ozark, Jason Bateman. He reminded me of like a Jason Bateman type of character who's like in these crazy scenarios. He's just like trying to play it straight. Like him when he was overseas with the pirates, he was like, "What the fuck is going on? These people are crazy." And then same thing here with Aegon. He's like, "Okay, like cool. I'll let it happen." But man, it was very interesting, and I'm very curious to see what Aegon's next, because he is still him and Sunfire at half health, 50% health. Like, what can they really accomplish here? But just him being alive is a lot to sow discord and discontent within the realm. Which is funny because Rhaenyra might think like, okay, I killed one son, I'm good here. I killed Aemond because Alicent said I killed Aemond.
But not really.
And then Aegon is deemed dead. So she's like, okay, he has 2 down. Okay, great. All I got to do is defeat Daeron. And then next week she's going to learn, no, Aegon is still alive. Daeron is still like in the midst at the Battle of Tumbleton, which is going to go on. And then she doesn't know about Aemond, which might be a season finale or season 4 thing. It's just like all these things that Rhaenyra is quietly trying to distinguish as like threats to her legitimacy are not going out on the count. They're all on the rise, actually. And it's just like, great. They're on the rise on top of me not maintaining control. It's like, man, just like this, it sucks. She's dealing with a lot, and not all of it is her fault, but she is making a lot of bad decisions that we'll get into it this week. But so that's Aegon. Where do you want to
Do
go?
you want to move? Do you want to move to Tumbleton or to the characters of King's Landing? Because King's Landing and the Targaryens are way more busy.
That's way busy. Let's do Tumbleton. My boy Gwaine, the goat, comes riding in when we first see him with the whole Tumbleton arc, and he says there's like 20,000 soldiers. They're like a day or two away. The Winter Wolves are here, and I like how Ormond's just like, so your boy Kristen Cole really fucked us. He didn't do shit, did he? It's like, yeah, not really.
And when it's just like,
it's like, yeah, that was Kristen Cole. But then Ormond does say, like, I have a piece on the board that we can use for later. And at the beginning of the episode, you're like, okay, that piece on the board is Corlys. He can definitely use Corlys. But even as we cut to the dinner sequence, what's Corlys going to do with the Battle of Tumbleton? Because Corlys is more so a disrupt Rhaenyra's legitimacy plan at King's Landing. And as Darren mentions, like, what's Corlys going to do against 20,000 armies? Like, what's that going to do?
Yeah.
The piece of the board that he was talking about was, in fact, that's going to help the Battle of Tumbleton.
Yeah, and also you have to, even if he wanted to get Corlys on his side, Corlys already handed the Balerian army to Alan. So what would Corlys really even do in this situation? But I really like that scene. I think both of them are Norden and Steep to Sun are great. There's like a great like dynamic back and forth of like, you're this great man who has seen way more parts of the world than most people have. Why do you keep coming back to this fucked up family, basically? And but also in a taunting him in a way, because his wife used to be a Targaryen and his children were half Targaryen. That's when he finally makes the decision to just like get up and leave. But like one of the little details in this dinner scene that really caught my eye, that I really love, was I forget what exactly Ormond is arguing, but Darren interrupts him with a really good piece of logic. I think it's something like, what would that even do when there's like this army outside of our walls type of thing. I think that's what Darren's argument is in the scene. And Corlys clocks that Ormond is like offended that he even like spoke up, even though the kid is right. Like, what are you gonna do? But like he notices that right away. And again, it's just one of those little details of whenever somebody says something in a room and everybody's like, whoa, type of thing. Really fun.
Yeah, really, really fun. Yeah, Ormond's sitting here trying to make deals with Corlys over here, respectfully so, because he's a man. And if there's one thing Ormond is going to do is disparage the Targaryen name. Like, why would you go over to that family, that crazy ass family? Which again, Corlys or Ormond is so beautifully hypocritical, right? Like, how this disgusting Targaryen family, those bitches with dragons, oh my gosh, when he's the one using Darren, who was also fully Targaryen with a dragon, to help burn that body, right? Like, he fully is with them there. And then the whole thing with Ulf, who is also a Targaryen bastard, but still part of that lineage in some way, just using him. So Ormond has no problem using Targaryens, even though he hates Targaryens. It's very, very, very funny and interesting relationship that he has with them. But yeah, he's like, starts talking about his wife, which is, big no-no in Corlys' scenario. So Corlys walks out and leaves. But you're right. This is a very funny, very interesting. Again, this was a very comedic episode. It was just like, they're back and forth. They're just so comedic because Corlys is like, why are you bullshitting me? Am I your prisoner? What do you want from me? I ain't going to tell you shit. I'm not going to betray Rhaenyra. It's like, Corlys ain't giving him nothing. He's like, okay, I'll pour you some wine. Corlys like, I don't want any of your wine. Like, I don't want any of your food. I don't want any of your wine. I don't want any of your sweet talking. It's not going to work on me. And yeah, that pisses Daron off too, because Daron's like, okay, what is this back and forth going to do against 20,000 people outside our door? Like, how is this going to help us survive, basically? And again, it's not, but this is all part of Ormond's plan to sow discord at King's Landing. Because if he has Corlys here, as he explains, if I have Corlys here as prisoner and might sow bad relationships with the Valarians at King's Landing, they might not want to protect the citizens there. They might not want to be stationed there if they realize, oh, our leader Corlys is a hostage and is in danger of dying. So that could be happen there. But then Darren is just continuing to get pissed off as he talks with Gwaine in the next scene.
Yeah, and you also have to keep in mind that Ormond is also probably, if he succeeds in his plan, that he's also thinking about the future and how he, like, we saw last week that he is trying to recruit houses to his side with the Baratheons last week, with the fake Baratheons. So I can only assume that he's probably also thinking about like wanting to recruit House Velaryon to the green side. So there's also that. But
possibly, even though he's at the end of the episode, he's like, "Oh, do you want Driftmark off? I can. Driftmark's going to be empty soon." It's like, is he thinking of killing Corlys in the future? I don't know. But yeah, but also I did like Darren and Gwaine. Gwaine is so exhausted with what's it called, with Ormond. I just love Gwaine's exasperated acting here. He's just like, oh fuck, like I don't know. It's like like this is getting crazy, and I like seeing more of Darren continuing to be like, I am continuing to be on like anti-Ormond watch. He's like, I'm not riding with this. What should my next steps be? And I like how Darren is like, or Gwaine suggests like, you can't flee, like you can't just dip and leave out of here, rule somewhere else. But even Darren is like, what kind of queen or what kind of king like flees? What kind of king like runs away from his own men in that scenario? So there is like a sense of like bravery there for Darren.
Yeah, but I mean, he is called Darren the Daring for a reason. But I mean, I did that more of a propaganda thing in the show, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think my highlight between these two and this episode is there's a line of dialogue that Darren says to Gwaine that really stood out to me. Of, we see a lot of these characters in the pursuit of greatness. Corlys is one of them. Daemon is one of them. Rhaenyra with her whole "I'm the chosen one" thing. Aegon, Aemon, everybody basically in the show who isn't Helaena. But Darren says something to Gwaine along the lines of, it wouldn't bother me if I lived like an insignificant life, something like that. If I was insignificant, type of thing. Like if I could like just kind of like a Helaena thing, if I could just like chill somewhere else, I would just be happy. I don't need to be a ruler. I don't need greatness in my life to be happy. Which again, it tells you a lot about the character, but also it does show you a bit of the conflict, the inner conflict inside of him, with him thinking about being a ruler and like what kind of ruler, like, abandons his people or leads their people to their death, type of thing. And that darker side every once in a while kind of like coming out, like even when he executed Kat's brother in episode 4, I want to say, kind of like baptism by blood and by fire, but in a bad way, type of thing, of like embracing a little bit of Ormond's side. And it really is kind of like an Aemon situation with like, the devil and the angel in his shoulders, like Gwaine being the angel or being the devil, type of thing. So again, it's been very interesting tracking this character and the kid that plays Darren. Highlight of the season, one of the highlights of the season. He's really good.
Yeah, again, Jalen the same way. Like we love these high towers. High towers have since season 1 have continued to be some of the more interesting characters in the entire show.
More so than the blacks sometimes.
More so than the blacks, yeah. Like I think Daemon is hard carrying that. Daemon and Rhaenyra. But like Ormond, Otto, I loved Otto. Like Alicent, people have their mixed feelings on Alicent, but I like Alicent. But then you have again Darren here, Aemon, like a lot of great character focus here. But you're right. I do like the whole insignificant angle. This was something that Alicent, as like the mother to all these children, she really admired. She smiled when Helaena told her, like, I just want to go raise chickens. That's why Alicent is so eager to get Helaena out of there at all costs, because she thinks Helaena is a child of hers that she can save. That there is not a hint of like delusions of glory, as Gawain mentions here. Like, I can save Helaena. I might have to be at the cost of Jaehaera or Maelor, but I can save this one. She probably doesn't think the same thing of Aegon, who she willingly tossed away before realizing that he was away, or Aemon, who she just killed. Like, Helaena is somebody that she can save, and that might be the same way that she feels about Daeron as well. Especially when we heard in season 2 that like Gawain told her Daeron is doing well. Like, even in the midst that Ormond continues to have these delusions of grandeur, have all these grand, mysterious plans, I like that Daeron can be his true self around Gawain and have these ideas of being insignificant while still not fleeing away from his army. Like, this is the true Daeron. And I'm excited to see, like, when push comes to shove, when the war gets chaotic and savage and full of carnage next week, how will Daeron act as the ruler, the actual ruler, instead of Ormond? How will those two interact, especially if they start to lose the battle, or if it gets too chaotic? How is Daeron going to act when his back is against the wall? Will his true self show out? Will he like surrender, or will he go towards the darker side? We saw when he was with Ormond and killed that one girl's brother. It could be like he could go to a darker edge there. I don't know. But I do like seeing Daeron, his true self, be so free. Like, this is, again, what Alicent would have always wanted from Daeron. It's unfortunate that Alicent can't see this. But yeah, so that's Daeron and Ormond's whole scenario. The next thing we see from this arc is kind of the end of the episode, right? Unless I'm missing something.
Yeah. Well, we do know that, but this is more of a black thing, but we do learn that Ormond cuts one of Corlys's fingers and sends it to King's Landing. But we can talk about that with Alan. But yeah, that
whole plot line is just like, hey, I'm sending a figure to Alan so that Alan,
they know that I have
him. They know that I have him. And that's gonna like cause chaos and confusion around King's Landing, who they're supposed to be protecting. Like, hey, I don't want them protecting King's Landing, right?
Yeah, type of thing. Yeah.
Okay. But then, yeah, we see that at the end of the episode, a campfire, he's having a pleasant conversation with, drumroll please, Ulf. Ulf is the piece on the board for Ormond against Rhaenyra. We might see the fruits of this relationship sooner than we might think in next week's episode. We've been on Dragon Seed Watch this entire season. And it's come
mostly because of Daemon.
Mostly because of Daemon, and it's come to roost with Ormond. Ormond and Ulf here. And it seems like they've been having these conversations for quite a while, right? Talk about this for a second.
Yeah, not surprised at all. I've been looking forward to the betrayal of some of the dragon seats against Rhaenyra's cause. As I mentioned, this has been something that has been looming in the background. Honestly, really since season 2, once Ulf and Hugh claimed their dragons, there was like this animosity that was built between Ulf and Jace in season 2, that you could see the early seeds of like, we can't really fully trust these people type of thing. And that only grew as, they took King's Landing. Daemon comes back to their side. He's just baffled by these people, to say the least. But also Rhaenyra's action, even though she views Adam, she puts him in a pedestal, she won't give him the Valyrian name. And, with Ulf, she won't even let him just have a break from literally just sitting outside of a castle and watching it. And again, like, even though Rhaenyra and Daemon, in their arguments against the dragon seats, they are correct. Why did you leave your watch to look for Vhagar? Why did you leave your spot from keeping watch on Tobleton? All of these things are valid, but the way that they're handling them, it was inevitable for something like this to happen, and we're finally seeing the fruits of all of Daemon's slaps and Rhaenyra's decisions of how she handled them with Hugh and Ulf, and at least they're sort of lucky that it's Ulf and not Hugh, because Hugh does have the bigger dragon out of the two. But even then, like, he got to Ulf. What's not to say that he won't get to Hugh at some point before or after the battle, if they survive the battle of Tumbleton.
Right? You can't really
but
count on Hugh right now because his family's in the line of fire. We don't know what he would do.
yeah, and one last thing before I toss it back to you with Ulf. Since the beginning of his arc in season 2, we've been viewing him as this like goofy, drunken, idiot type of character. But especially this season, in the last couple episodes, we've been seeing a side of him a little bit more cunning. That really did start with him asking for those petitions from Rhaenyra, and him getting denied, and as a result, almost as retaliation, him confronted her with the fact that the people that you say that you are for, they don't like you that much either, and they're calling you the mother of bastards or queen of bastards.
Exactly.
So that was the first slide, and then I think it was last week when he was talking to Hugh and him arguing, well, yeah, we have dragons, but like, has your life really improved? Has your life really changed? And this really is like the final piece, the cherry on top of Wolf's arc of like becoming a little bit more cunning, even though he's still a bit of an idiot, I guess you could say, with him like, oh, can I have a castle, and can I have this particular castle? And Norman is like, dream bigger, my guy, type of thing. But yeah, it's been very interesting, and all of these different pieces are gonna collide next week in the Battle of Tumbleton. I think Ulf immediately has like almost rise to the top of like, what are you gonna do next week? Because even though like he does seem very friendly with Ormond, and I don't know, you could make the argument that maybe he's trying to like play at both sides at this point, but I think we could say safely that he has like a full leg on Green's side than with the Blacks.
For sure, Ormond is going to use the hell out of him. But yeah, you're right. I wouldn't say he's cunning. He has become more like thoughtful, more like
self-aware, I guess.
Self-aware and thoughtful. Yeah. I do wonder when the first encounter, what did eventually break Ulf here, because I think this might have happened before he got pushed from the ground in front of all those people. You're muted.
It's funny that that I think Ormond is the one who brings up the castle thing, right?
Yes.
And again, we can assume that this is not the first time that they've been talking, but
weeks, they say.
Yeah. I believe it's episode 3, the opening of episode 3, when Daemon confronts Ormond on the field and with the army, and it's just the 3 dragons, right? One of the things that Daemon, again, in his cockiness, he jokes to everybody who can listen, hey, Ulf, would you like a castle? Would you like to be the lord of Old Town, or whatever he says? Somebody like Ormond hears that and he's like, all right, noted. I'll save that for later, type of thing.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good point. Like, okay, yeah, this guy, he's thirsty for a castle. And yeah, like this Ulf is a person driven by like material want. He wants a castle. He just wants to drink pleasantly, with his alcohol. That's kind of all he wants, which makes him so easy to persuade and to control. And yeah, it's like I am very curious now. Like, are you gonna go on top of that castle, and are you gonna box Caraxes? Are you that down for Ormond? Doubt. Like, what are you gonna do? Can you box, or are you scared? Like, what kind of participant is he going to be in this battle? Are we going to see Vermithor versus Silverwing? Are we going to see these like Hugh versus Ulf? The battle of dragon seeds? I'm very curious how much Ulf is willing to sacrifice for Ormond just because Ormond is being respectful and promising him castles. Because Rhaenyra promised him the same thing. What makes him think Ormond is going to be the truth and not Rhaenyra? So like, because he hasn't had anything that that Ormond's promised him with yet. It all comes down to this battle. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if he sees the Greens losing. He's like, okay, maybe I'm not with the Greens. Like, I don't know. Like, it's going to be very, very interesting. And just seeing Daemon's reaction to all switching sides. Oh boy, Daemon's like, I've been waiting for an excuse to kill your ass, and now I got it. Let's go. Hot damn. I don't know what's going to happen next.
I'm very interested about that because from the previews, I don't think Daemon is on Dragonbag. I think he's on the ground with the army. So
yeah, he's there ready to box. We saw Caraxes in the back, circling.
Wolf is not gonna be fighting with a sword.
No, he's not, right? So I don't know, but Daemon is one of the only people where I trust that Caraxes can do the work without somebody riding him. So
I just had a thought. We know that everybody knows that Rhaenyra recruited these dragon seeds, right? And that these dragon riders are hers. What if Ulf burns the city and makes it seem like it's the Blacks' fault?
Oh, damn. That's a good play. That's a great play, especially by Ormond to again drill home how evil Rhaenyra is, how unjust Rhaenyra is, how her legitimacy is flawed and not rightful. That would be a great dark play. Like, hey, we won. Like Daemon's army wins, right? The people cheer, and then you see a shadow, and you see Ulf's dragon just do 2 swipes, zoop zoop, and then just fly off. Like, that would be dark. And then just spread the word, like, hey, Rhaenyra burned her own town. They won, and she didn't even spare her own people. Man, that is going to be tragic. I could definitely see that happening. That's a great prediction. But yeah, we'll see how much Ulf participates in this battle. Great play by Ormond, who continues to, have these delusions of grandeur. He's had some setbacks with Aemond not coming to play with Vhagar. Another Targaryen who's willing to use and work with was Aemond. But now he has Daeron, he has Gwain's leadership, he has Ulf now with his own. Ulf has Silverwing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting because Ulf technically has a better dragon than somebody like Daemon, but Daemon has the experience. And as we saw in the battle between the dragons, this is a Tuesday for this guy.
Caraxes is like, tell me what I gotta do and I'll do it. Like, Caraxes is like, oh, fine. I love Caraxes. One of my favorite. Oh, we'll get to that. But yeah,
we can just move on to the Blacks.
Let's move on to the Blacks now.
But where do you want to even start? There's so much shit that happens with Team Black in this episode.
This is what I wanted to talk to you about. Because this is the episode where I kept on pausing because I had shit to say. But the whole Mysaria, Daemon, Rhaenyra relationship is the heart of this storyline for the Blacks. And I don't want to come off as rude. I don't know if this is a flaw for the episode or flaw for the character, but what is Mysaria trying to achieve here? What is the episode telling us Mysaria is trying to achieve here? Mysaria has been largely absent from the past couple episodes. We know just characterization-wise, she is a person who is trying to get Rhaenyra to care about the people, focus on the people, quote-unquote, do like Viserys, even though me and you both said, why are Mysaria and Rhaenyra trying to be like Viserys when he's a flawed king? And that comes to roost in this episode as they directly talk about that conundrum. About, hey, you said my father used to be with my father, but my father sucked, basically. That's a later argument. But in general, we see Mysaria trying to paint distrust against Daemon. We see Mysaria trying to, hook her seat with Rhaenyra. And then especially we get that one scene with Mysaria having that conversation with Sylvie. And I was kind of turned off by this. Sylvie was like, you've changed a lot, Mysaria. And if I'm Mysaria, I'd be like, what the fuck am I supposed to do then? I'm trying to gain influence with Rhaenyra. I'm here talking to you, asking you what kind of help do you need, because Rhaenyra ain't here. I'm in her stead. What do you want? And she's like, you've changed. Goodbye. I'm like, then fuck you then. Like, I'm trying to help. What the fuck? What the fuck is Mysaria supposed to do? But I think the show is trying to tell me that Mysaria has changed for the worse, in that like she is like hooking her seeds into Rhaenyra. But I don't think that's being showcased in the episodes. Like Mysaria hasn't had that much influence on Rhaenyra. If at all, it's been the opposite. She's been ignoring the people. She's been following more so Daemon's ideology about being preordained. So I don't know what I'm supposed to get from this relationship, Mysaria and Rhaenyra. Even though they ultimately end on a comforting presence, they have sex together. But I don't know. I don't know about this relationship. I don't know what I'm supposed to get from it.
I wonder if some of the lackluster, because I do agree with a lot of what you're saying, a lot of the lacklusterness of this storyline this season, if it's due to, and I think this is fact. I think the actress that plays Mysaria was pregnant during the season, so maybe that's why they're like not a lot of her, and like they, and I did start to notice the way that they shoot her in the particular angles. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe. But okay, so here's the thing about Mysaria.
Talk to me.
I'm always very weary about characters, particularly in Game of Thrones, in the Song of Ice and Fire universe, that they claim that they are for the people, with a few exceptions. I think somebody like Daenerys definitely is for the people, especially in the books, with the way that, you know, every chapter is written from the point of view of, you know, the individual character. So you actually do get to see a lot of her struggles of like, I don't want to be like my father type of thing. But then there's other characters like Varys, for example, who, and I'm gonna have to like make a separation between book Varys and show Varys, because show Varys very much, the show does make an argument that he is for the people. You know, there's that iconic scene between him and Ned Stark, where Ned is like, "Who are you with? Like, who do you serve?" And he turns around and he says, "The realm. Somebody has to," type of thing, you know. And they kept that very consistent throughout the show, all the way to the end, whether you like season 8 or not. But
coin flip.
The interesting about Varys is, in the books, he says that he's for the people, but he keeps making these schemes that don't really seem to benefit the people themselves. You know, he is one of the people that keeps counseling Aerys, because they became, you know, the Lord of Whispers when the Mad King was the king, and he basically became the confidant of the Mad King. Are you really for the people if you're like trying to protect this guy? You know, one of the rumors, and you know, a lot of great news this, if you're a Song of Ice and Fire fan this week, with like the play coming out and kind of like being like a prequel to both the books and the show type of thing, and some of it being canon, some of it not. But it's always been a rumor that, you know, Rhaegar started to conspire to take the throne from his father, because he started to get like, you know, all crazy and shit. And because Rhaegar thought that he needed to be in power to you know, fulfill the prophecy or whatever. And it seems like Varys is the one who told Aerys about it, and that's why Aerys showed up at the tourney of Harrenhal, which was originally meant to bring the houses of the realm under Rhaegar. But that was kind of like ruined once Aerys showed up.
Wait, go back. You said Viserys told Rhaegar about what?
No. So there's a point in the story where it seems like Rhaegar wants to overthrow his father, like the Mad King.
Okay.
And he makes an excuse of like, let's make a tourney at Harrenhal to bring all the houses together. But really, it was supposed to be like a secret meeting to basically make a plan to overthrow Aerys. And then Varys told Aerys about it, and you know, the rest is history type of thing. So he kind of ruined Rhaegar's plan. But like, if you are for the people, that you say that you are for the people, why would you still be, you know, counseling the Mad King type of thing? And it's very consistent. It's very consistent throughout the books of like characters that are like trying to do good, that Varys kind of like fucks over. Like the way that the last book, I believe, the Dance with Dragons ends is, you know, I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of the character. I think is it Kevin Lannister? Tywin's brother. once Tywin dies, he becomes kind of like the hand of the king, right? To Tommen. He's kind of like, he's trying to like bring the realm back to what it was, trying to like bring peace to the realm type of thing. And Varys kills him. He doesn't die like on this big explosion like in the show. He just kills him, like he sends like little bursts and like kills the guy. And again, like if you're for the people, why are you killing these people, these lords that are trying to do good, across the Seven Kingdoms type of thing? So I kind of like see Mysaria in a similar lens, sorta, as Varys, not quite as much because it's very inconsistent again in the show. I do agree with you, but I think that's why the show added that scene between her and Sylvie of you've changed, even though like we haven't really seen the change.
Not at all.
But like you've changed, like look at you, like you're wearing something that would cost me like a year of my earning to even be able to buy type of thing. Like you're for the people, but you're wearing all of this fancy type of stuff. Like, and I did clock that like once they took over King's Landing, of like, Mysaria, if you're really for the people, why are you dressing up like you're like wearing like Vogue or Prada or whatever type of thing?
Wait, what's you supposed to wear? Pajamas? Like,
I mean, look at Master Orwell, just a pajama.
that's a good point.
But even if we will go back to season 1, when Alicent and Otto, they both send people to look for Aegon, and Otto eventually meets her, have that meeting. They are talking about giving up Aegon, and eventually she agrees and she gives out Aegon so they can make him king with some conditions, right? If you're Mysaria, who are supposed to be very smart and this like, lady of whispers type of character, why would you trust Otto? Why would you know what kind of person Aegon is? He has like assaulted and abused all of these people inside of his fucking castle and outside of it in Flea Bottle.
What did she gain from that?
Well, he like, I remember I think the agreement was if you make Aegon king, will you look into the fighting pits with the children in Flea Bottom and like put a stop to it, and like be more considerate of the people. But again, like if you're Mysaria, like are you really gonna believe them with Aegon of all people as king? Come on. And again, like if you're putting,
then he ended up burning her house, right? Is that
yeah. And I mean that's kind of like why she ended up at Dragonstone, right? With Rhaenyra and the Blacks type of thing. But yeah, so like fast forward to this, I think some of it, and us as audience kind of like have a better idea, a better look of Mysaria than somebody like Sylvie does, which is again why like that scene kind of like came off as weird. But one of the things that has been happening this season between Rhaenyra, Daemon, and Mysaria kind of like having like her, again, a lot of characters with devil and angels on their shoulders. On paper, what Mysaria is suggesting with like helping the small folk, it is a good thing.
Yeah.
But Daemon is right. Like if you want your city to be secure, you need to pay the people who are, keeping it safe.
Which comes to the whole money issue. Yeah.
Which eventually leads to the murder of the gold cloaks, and there's basically that whole system is dismantled at this point because nobody wants to be a gold cloak.
And that's the one thing that Rhaenyra can't really fix on her own is like I can't find any gold.
Yeah. And again, like if you say that you're for the people, and again, I get that you're like trying to like directly impact their lives in a good way by giving them food and money and all of this stuff. Why are you not thinking about how you're going to keep the city, which the people live in, safe type of thing? And a lot of the blame, you can't put it on Mysaria because that was her plan. And Rhaenyra followed it. And even like in the small council meeting that we see in this episode he says it like, you just like making me your pawn, like you're making me look bad. And we get that shot of like Mysaria kind of like taking like a sip of the wine or whatever. Yeah. But again, like, everybody's blaming the guy, and even Rhaenyra to an extent, but like, dude, that was your decision. That was your fault because you chose to listen to Mysaria instead of Daemon. And something that became very clear to me in this episode. I mean, I think it's been clear to me since the beginning of this particular season, but it's really evident by now is that besides Daemon's, let's conquest the whole world, like type of like let's genocide these people, let's make like an empire type of thing. That aside, Harrenhal therapy really worked on Damon.
Big time.
And a lot of his ideas, they're not bad, man. Like, listen to him.
Yeah. We should have burned. We should have burned Ormond's army when we first saw them. They didn't have to bend the knee, and we could have gave our gold to the gold cloaks before giving it to the people with food, and then when they were hungry, and then that would have helped a lot of different things.
And again, with going back to my saga, if you say that you're for the people, where did that get you? Like, Ormond took over. Ormond took over Tumbleton, and all of these people are suffering because of it. People are like being forced to host, their army. Some of them are being abused, assaulted. Again, if you really are for the people, why wouldn't you suggest be with Damon's side and like, let's just get rid of them already, type of thing. They were literally outside the walls on a field laid open for you to burn. Why wouldn't you?
Easily. I like what you're saying. That's a lot. That's a great. Yeah, it does help me there because, like, I think at the end of it, at the day, what you're saying is that like this episode and her arc in general is she's succumbing to her own like selfishness, right? Like, despite the people not being better off, at least she is better off. She is closer to Rhaena.
Yeah.
Like hiding secrets from hiding the whole Alicent angle is like right. At least Mysaria gets more information, even though she's hiding things from Rhaenyra. Even if the people aren't getting fed more, at least Rhaenyra is still confiding in Mysaria. So like Mysaria's elevation of power continues to rise, even though her influence isn't. But it doesn't matter to Mysaria because at least she's closer. Like her selfishness is paramount.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of a Kristen Cole in the sense of, this guy who came from nowhere, from nothing, and rose all the way to the top, and eventually became Hand of the King, Kingmaker, whatever. One of the many reasons why he's so unlikable, I think, in the story, but more so in the books than in the show, but also in the show, is he's like that archetype of character who he may come from nothing, and you want to root for him because he comes from nothing and he rises to greatness, right? But he's the type of character that instead of opening the door for others to do the same, he closes it behind him. And that's what Mysaria is kind of doing with this whole thing. Even, one of the last closing things with Sylvie and Mysaria in that one scene in the Iron Throne is at the end of the day, you're still a sex worker and they're going to see you as such. Doesn't matter what you do to impress them, they're still going to see you, as if you're like below them. And even though there's a part of Mysaria where she might be a little bit offended by that, she embraces it by the end in the last scene with Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra is bringing all of these points of like, I follow your words, I follow your advice. We want to be like Viserys, but like,
what has that gotten me?
Where has that gotten me? And like, I think Rhaenyra said something along the lines of, he might have, like, my father, he wasn't a dreamer, but he always, dreamt. Like he lived in a dream, I think is the phrase that she uses. So Rhaenyra is like, saying all of these things and kind of like confronting her, but at the end of the day, she's seduced very easily like any other man. And it's funny because it reminded me of the scene in season 1 in the pilot. When does this scene happen? I forget the placement of the scene, but it's her and Daemon. They're having sex, right? And there's like other people like through the walls trying to like see, and Daemon is like very clearly like upset about something, and he just like stops having sex, and he kind of goes to the window, kind of like to like mope, and Mysaria goes to him to reaffirm like, oh, like what will your brother would never take away the title of heir to the throne type of thing. Like, you're so special at Daemon. She's doing that to Rhaenyra.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think the purpose of that is? Like to hype up Rhaenyra's like quote unquote madness, to hype up Rhaenyra's like, because she's telling Rhaenyra like what Rhaenyra needs is someone to be like, we're struggling. Here's what we need to do to fix it, which is Mysaria's job basically. But Mysaria's doing the opposite. She's like, you are worthy. Because I think Rhaenyra asked like, am I worthy of this? And Mysaria's given her just like, oh, you're the best. You're worthy. You're beautiful. Let's make out. Like she's trying to get Rhaenyra away from even thinking about like
Other possibilities.
all the other possibilities, all the bad things that are happening, and just being like, let's stay in our dreamland here.
Yeah.
And
Well,
is that just so Mysaria can just continue to have this control and have this status with Rhaenyra?
yes, and also I think at this point, following what Rhaenyra tells her, because Rhaenyra, like this scene kind of like follows the confrontation between her and Daemon in the room, and Rhaenyra comes in like telling her like, oh, like he wasn't really lying to me, he was trying to protect his own daughter, type of thing,
Which I loved, by the way.
Yeah, and Mysaria keeps like insisting like, oh well, if he can lie about that, like why wouldn't he lie about it next, type of thing, which again is like, if you're for the people and like you want to kill a little girl, that type of thing.
Yeah, that was my thing. I was like, why do you continue to drive home? Like you're pushing too hard on the anti-Daemon front. She just came to you being like, okay, I understand what Daemon's saying, even though she's still obviously upset and pissed off at him. She understands what Daemon was doing, but
he wasn't doing it from malicious, yeah.
And she understands that, which I loved from Rhaenyra. I'm like, okay, thank God, because I did not want another like, I hate you, don't talk to me kind of thing. She still feels that way, but she understands, which I like that they verbally said that. But then she tells Mysaria, like, why are you trying to like create this animosity between us?
Yeah, and I think Mysaria has come to an understanding that what Rhaenyra needs right now, what she wants, really, she wants a yes man.
Mm-hmm.
She wants a yes man.
Yeah.
And Daemon is not that. Daemon is confronted her, and rightfully so, in a lot of places. Most of it, honestly. Really, post Harrenhal therapy, Daemon has been like locked in, 100% behind Rhaenyra. So, yeah, I found that all of that very interesting, and even though I don't love the Mysaria thing, because I do think it's very murky, it's very messy. It's not like fully telegraphed in the show.
Yes.
It's there. If you want to discuss it, as we are right now, but
you made a great discussion, because I was so confused about it. But everything you've said between her and Viserys and her, like, really diving into that madness, like, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense with the receipts that we do have visually with her and Daemon in season 1.
I guess if you want to compare that relationship to something else, just look at Viserys and Otto.
Great point. Like that's a great relationship to compare, because obviously Otto cared about Viserys, but
he hated Daemon because Daemon didn't lie to him.
And just like Mysaria obviously cares about Rhaenyra, but Otto and Mysaria are both like,
they have their own agendas.
They have their own agendas. Like, as long as Otto gets to continue to whisper honey into Viserys' ear, he's doing fine. Is it good for the realm? Maybe no, maybe so, maybe not. Same thing for Mysaria. It's like some things work and some things obviously don't work. As we learned in this episode, Rhaenyra is not taking any petitions from the civilians. Bad idea. And I like how Sylvia's like, that's an awful idea. Like, to not even get petitions from the realm. And that's why Mysaria like, but I am here. It's like she's just obviously not doing enough. And she's not helping. She's not doing enough. And then when she has the ear of Rhaenyra, instead of telling her like, hey, Rhaenyra, glad you're back. Here's what we can do I just got yelled at by Sylvie. Here's what we can do to help the realm. Doesn't say that. Instead, she's like, oh, you're worthy. You're fine. You're great. Don't listen to Daemon. You're doing everything wonderfully. Let's make out. Like, she's not helping, when obviously if you have this ear, you have this influence, you should be using it to help. And she's not. Granted, again, Rhaenyra hasn't listened to Mysaria, and that's, again, messiness from the TV show, but it's just like, when we do actually see Mysaria and Rhaenyra together, Mysaria is not actively helping the situation. She's only helping her own cause. She's only helping her own status. So yeah, thank you for all that. That was very, very informative. But yeah, so outside of the whole Mysaria, Daemon, Rhaenyra stuff, during that small council where she's like, my small council sucks. Where's Daemon? Where's everybody at? Adam and Baela arrive, and they're like, oh yeah, we saw a Sheepstealer with the rider. And I'm just like, oh shit. And then the whole sound is just like, years. Like
Following a very brutal friend zone scene between Adam and Bela.
I didn't know how to interpret. I did not interpret it the way everybody else did. I guess I was just like mistaken. Because yeah, he was like, Adam tells Bela like, talk to Corlys about talking to Rhaenyra about our status. So hopefully I can marry a high-born lady. Looking at Bela, and Bela's like, "Oh, did your brother tell you about our last meeting?" Adam's like, "Huh?" I was like, I read it as like awkward, but I was fully on like the Alan and Bela train, so I didn't see it as like Adam obviously talking about Bela. But that does make the most sense, and it does make more sense than that Bela like friend zones him.
Yeah, I will say about that. Here's the thing. So this kind of like, I guess, love triangle-esque
kind of
storyline that they're establishing. It's not in the book. In the book, it's more straightforward of like Bela and Alan kind of like just like getting together. But it's interesting because I think the actress that plays Bela, I think her name is Antonia, Bethany Antonia. Her and Clinton Liberty, who plays Adam, they have really good chemistry, and I don't think she has chemistry with Abu Bakr, who plays Alan at all. That's funny in and of itself. But I thought what the show was gonna do when they introduced that first, scene of Adam kind of like hitting on her a few episodes back, of the way that I read of what might have happened in the show was, are they gonna have these two kind of like fall in love or something like that, and eventually that like falls apart and kind of like a Pearl Harbor situation where she ends up with the other brother type of things out of like their common love for their brother. So we'll see. But yeah, so this leads us to the scene with
By the
Damon.
way, was that Vagar poop that they found?
It was definitely poop, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know, but
they gotta find
Vagar.
They gotta find Vagar eventually. Like, come on.
The great mystery of Vagar, the largest fucking dragon hiding like fucking Godzilla in 1990, whatever.
The whole season. I didn't know this would be like a whole season kind of thing, but okay. We'll see what happens. But yeah.
This leads us to Damon going to the Eyrie to find out where Rhaena is. Not much to talk about here. Lady Erin just being herself. I will say she probably has the best outfit in this entire show.
I do love a Damon and Lady Erin scene. They're always so fun together. They hate each other.
This is an example of like we'll get to it later in a bit, but like of Rhaena's storyline not hitting whenever she's with Lady Erin, but whenever Lady Erin is with like Damon, like that shit hits.
It hits so much. Like the way he bursts in the room.
Yeah, like Damon reluctantly having to say please.
Yeah,
to her, it's really.
I love that pause. He was like, just tell me where she is, please. Like, oh, they're just so good. It's so much fun, man.
But so Adam and Bela go back to King's Landing. They inform Rhaenyra about Sheepstealer. They go to somewhere in the Vale, I'm assuming, or the Riverlands.
Most of the Vale, yeah.
Yeah. So because Rhaena is out and about trying to look for Vagar. As a way to redeem herself in the eyes of Rhaenyra. I don't hate this on paper. Again, we talked about this last week, and let's get into it. This should have fucking happened earlier in the season.
I agree.
Rhaena should have come back with Damon in episode 3 or 4, whatever it was. Have this whole downfall of the family happen at King's Landing. You can still even have the fight if you want, somewhere like near the Dragon Pit or whatever.
Yeah.
But have her reunite with the family so she can have something to do. Like even the thing of her like being out scouting with Bela and Adam, like that would have been something. Instead, we just have Rhaena for like not even half the season. We're like episode 7.
The whole season.
The whole season of her like explaining to the audience, be careful what you wish for. I was like, I saw the episode. I saw the first episode. Thank you very much.
Like it was baffling because we have the Bela and Rhaena scene. Bela's like this will you will begin anew. I'm like, begin anew in the penultimate episode?
And it's a good scene.
Yeah, I agree. I was like, I wish we had this reunion last week at the very latest, where Baela also went to go look for. But they were over there in that area. I'm like, you could have had Baela find her in episodes 5 or 6, and we could at least had 2 or 3 episodes with them together.
New beginning in the last season of the show.
New beginning, and then it's like it's like we can't really grasp that new beginning because everybody's just hyped for Tumbleton next week. It's like, are we really gonna have time for Rhaena in the finale? Doubt. So it's just like, man, we could have had that whole family discussion earlier.
And again, I don't want to be like too mean because I do think Phoebe Campbell, who plays Rhaena, she's actually really great. Like anytime that she's with Matt Smith, and it might just be Matt Smith bringing the best out of everybody in the show, but
Probably.
she's really great at like biting back at him of like that back and forth of like, why do you even care? Like, why do you even come here? And like when she sees the other dragons like on the distance of like, oh, you lied to me, like type of thing. Like all of that is really great. It was
beautiful.
I just wish it would have happened earlier in the season.
I completely agree. And I was telling Jalen about your plot line with the whole Rhaena coming back to King's Landing, her being part of that mystery crime angle that we had the past 2 to 3 episodes. That would have been fun. You would have had more Baela and Rhaena scenes along with Baela and Adam and Alan scenes. Like we could have had that and just added Rhaena to those storylines. It would have elevated every other character even more so. And I'm with you. Like when they're arguing on the field, I'm like, I'm in it. Like this is so messy and fun and cool. It's just like, hey, what are you doing? I'm trying to kill Vhagar. And I paused it. I'm like, why did she want to kill Vhagar with that small ass dragon? Did she want to die? Then I unpaused it and she's like, I'm willing to die. I'm like, okay. Like she totally understands her plan. Probably isn't the smartest, but she doesn't care because either she kills Vhagar and is recompense for Jace, or she doesn't. And maybe Rhaenyra can still be happy with her own death. Like I like that flawed teenager thinking.
Yeah, even if we didn't have like the whole plot line that I suggested with her being with Daemon and like the whole mystery of it all, like in Flea Bottom, if we would have had like, you know, Rhaena comes in, Rhaenyra confronts her, they're really mad at her. Obviously, she didn't send her to the cell because she's in a very comfy bed from the looks of it.
Yep. What a surprise! Rhaenyra didn't kill Rhaena. Come on, Daemon.
I think a more interesting dynamic also, besides the one that I suggested a week ago or whatever, you know, Baela and Adam are like scouting all over to find for Vhagar. What if just Rhaenyra like willingly like say like, because of Jace, I'm willing to sacrifice you and your dragon to go find Vhagar, and if you die, like I don't care, but at least you tried to kill this person that has like brought so much destruction to the family, almost like putting her on a suicide mission. And like again, the show already did that. They did it this week. Why couldn't we have done, you know, do all of this shit like 2-3 weeks ago?
That sounds very interesting because it's kind of like for Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, just like Ozai being like, Zuko, go find the Avatar, knowing he would probably never find the actual Avatar. But it's like, hey, I'm sending you on like an impossible, Mission Impossible style kind of quest. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Again, anything would have been better than what we ended up with. And again, I like these scenes, but a little bit too late. And again, I will say I do like the way that the scene starts of Daemon and Caraxes just dragging Sheepstealer to the ground, kind of like, you know, getting somebody by the hair. Like, what did you do?
Yeah, get your ass down. But I'm with you. House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, a fantasy show like this works best when characters are having that back and forth. That's what we've worked. That's what we loved so much in Game of Thrones. What a surprise that a lot of the worst aspects of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, is when characters are by themselves. You know, like when what's it called? I keep forgetting her name. The small girl from season 1 from Game of Thrones, Arya. When she's by herself, it's like there's no back and forth. She's just by herself training, and it's boring as shit. You know, Sansa, when she's with like, you know, some of her storyline when she's like by herself with Theon, who is half of a person. It's like it's not my favorite thing in the world. It's like Rhaena by herself. It's like, come on, we need a back and forth to make these storylines interesting. I completely agree. But cutting back to the fun part of it all, it's just it's so great seeing Caraxes just like pummel Sheepstealer to the ground. Or he's like, Rhaena, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, okay, cool. And I did like the heart to heart in the mix there, like heated arguments. Like, granted, my mom died when I was 3. We already talked about it, but it was just like Daemon telling her a little bit about himself. I'm like,
I was like you type
I
of
love
thing.
this. I was like you. I was like, ooh, I like this. I like this a lot. Do we know when Daemon got Caraxes? Since he said he got it later on than most people.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, his dragon egg. I don't think it hatched. He claimed it. If I remember correctly, I think Meraxes, which is Rhaenys' dragon that died last season.
Okay.
That dragon belonged to either Daemon's mom or his dad, and Caraxes belonged to one of Rhaenys' parents. So they kind of like switched dragons type of thing.
Interesting. Because yeah, I would love like a side story or a flashback to Daemon taming Caraxes for the first time. That'd be really cool. But yeah, it's like cool. But yeah, it's just so messy being like, oh, what's going on here? What's going on here? I used to be like you. Like, what are you doing here? It's like, hey, I can help you. I can help you. Me and you, we can take down Vhagar together, which is still kind of laughable because, like, you know, nobody can see where Vhagar is. Vhagar is the biggest of nuclear bombs. But I do believe that, like, there could be a time where Vhagar could fall to. We're all anticipating Caraxes versus Vhagar because of the whole inevitable Daemon versus Aemon fight. So that did like bring to light, like, okay, Daemon and Sheepstealer versus Vhagar. That could be a very fun fight to see. But again, doesn't come to pass right now because in the horizon we see 2 dragons coming in, and Rhaena is pissed. You sold me out. He's like, I have no idea who they are. I didn't know what's going on. And I thought that was Bela and Adam coming. And I'm like, oh, this can get messy, like 2 daughters confronting each other. But Rhaenyra came on, what's your dragon name? Syrax. I'm like, oh, wait, shit. I was like, oh, that's Syrax. So Syrax is here. This is even more messy because Rhaenyra, I love it good when Emma has like a great pissed off face. She's like, you lied to me. It's like,
why are you protecting Sheepstealer's rider?
It was, and the peakest of comedy is when Daemon's like, just run, and you see slow as Rhaena being like, I'm just like in the background. You see the camera closes in on Daemon and Rhaenyra, and in the background you see her still running, and Rhaenyra's like, I can see her, Daemon, like, and she's like, Adam, go catch her ass, and it's very funny, and Adam's grabbing Rhaena, and it's just so messy, and then Rhaenyra is pissed off at Daemon trying to control the situation, like he's in Jurassic World, Chris Pratt scenario, like, I can calm down, I got this, dragons, calm down, we got, like, it was peak comedy, peak messiness. I loved everything about it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised that fucking Sheepstealer, especially being a wild dragon, didn't just like freak out when they're like grabbing Rhaena so aggressively.
I agree. Yeah,
and you know, one of the baffling things that we talked about last week with the episode 6 of Lady Aaron bringing in Rhaena into the Eyrie. How the fuck did they got her without Sheepstealer like fucking burning them alive? But anyway, that's another issue for another episode. But yeah, like, you know, all of this is really funny. I do like the line of Rhaenyra being like, it couldn't have been you, kind of like, you know, referring to the gullet, and I don't even think Rhaena says anything. She just kind of like gives her a look and kind of like a disappointment. But I do like that, you know, we opened the show with Viserys' speech about the dragons, and you know, the dragons are not a power to be, you know, messing with type of thing. And this scene in particular, I think maybe, well, I guess the Battle of the Colors is another example, but this is a great reminder just how little in control sometimes these Targaryens are of their dragons. I mean, Caraxes is listening for the most part.
Caraxes is locked in. Everybody else is going crazy.
To Daemon, but yeah, man, all of, like, it was really hard to watch these dragons like go at it. Like this episode in particular, like, you know, we've seen a couple dragons die by now, but like this particular episode, I was like, yeah, I'm not ready to see some of these dragons go to battle toe to toe, because especially Caraxes, like, that's my boy. Like,
Caraxes is best.
Also, it's funny that all of them kind of like got bitten and like got scratched, but like Caraxes walked away like not even
Clean. Yeah.
clean.
Sheepstealer was putting in work on Cyrax. I was like, oh shit. I'm like, Cyrax, stand up, stand up. And then Sea Smoke got onto what's it called? Sheepstealer, and then Cyrax got onto Sheepstealer. Hey, don't touch Cyrax like that. And I thought they were gonna kill Sheepstealer for a second.
I
was
thought
like,
it was
oh,
gonna happen too.
shit. I was like, this is
Also
bad.
because-
This is bad.
Also because you know, very different from the books. Nettles doesn't exist, even though they make that stupid little Nettles joke in this episode.
Yeah, I was like, Edgar's not gonna like that.
But you know, I was with you in the sense of like, are they gonna kill him? Because again, in the books, Nettles and Sheepstealer just disappear from the story. They just like run away. And obviously, I don't think you can have that with, especially with Rhaena being a Targaryen princess happening in the show. So I'm still under the impression that you probably have to kill a Sheepstealer at some point in the show before it ends. And I was like, are they gonna kill him right now, like this soon? But obviously that doesn't happen. And
Damon
I
got
will
knocked
say,
off so easily. By the way, like, he got knocked off. I'm like, Damon, hold on, this is a dragon battle. I better stand your ground. But
yeah,
he's lucky.
But I will say, you have an extra dragon with Rhaena, and I know that you're very butthurt about the whole Battle of the Gullet situation. Why are you killing him? Fucking try to like take him back to King's Landing, to the dragon pit. That's an extra fucking nuclear bomb on your fucking side.
That's a great point. Rhaenyra is really going to be upset about that decision in next episode when she learns that Ulf has turned away. They could have obviously used Sheepstealer. They better hope that Sheepstealer makes its way back to King's Landing so they can help out, because you just lost. You went from 6 to 5. You really need an extra dragon to help them out. And as we saw, Sheepstealer can put in some kind of work. They can put in some work. So hopefully Sheepstealer can come in, because if you lose one dragon in what was it, Silverwing? If you lose Silverwing, hopefully we can get Sheepstealer as our next resort. But yeah, this was a lot of chaos. There's a lot of messiness, and Caraxes and Daemon, after Daemon falls, Caraxes and Daemon just let Sheepstealer go here. And then we already talked about it, but I did like the heart-to-heart that Daemon had with Rhaenyra, where he's like, I wasn't the best father. I've been absent as a father for so long, but we can, I didn't betray you, Rhaenyra. I just, withheld information. And like you mentioned earlier, like, were you scared that I was going to kill Rhaena? And obviously she doesn't. So it's a very tricky time. I do hope we get like a Rhaena and Rhaenyra scene next episode. I think it's very valuable. I think it's necessary for this storyline to come into conclusion in the finale for season 3, to get like, what does Rhaenyra really think of Daemon? Or sorry, what does Rhaenyra really think of Rhaena? I think that's a very valuable conversation to have to end off this season, which has been predicated upon Jace's death. So we'll see. We'll see what happens next episode. Can you hear me, Edgar? Probably still can't hear me. Okay. But so I'm curious to see what happens with Rhaenyra and Rhaena. We'll see where that conversation leads. But this whole episode with the whole Daemon, Rhaenyra, Rhaena messiness was very, very funny to watch. And then we had Alicent, and Aemon, very, very funny to watch. Aegon maniacally laughing as he Dracarys and burns everybody, all his victims. And then even Ormund and Ulf having a very surprising encounter at the end of the episode. So overall, this wasn't a more darker, sinister penultimate episode. It was just another building block episode filled with a lot of funny moments, especially Daemon, Rhaenyra, and Rhaena, and all that messiness. I don't know if you heard me, but I was like, I really hope the finale has at least one final scene between Rhaenyra and Rhaena. I know she didn't want to talk to her in this episode, obviously, but like, just to end the season full circle, like, what does Rhaenyra really think of Rhaena? I want that conversation.
Hopefully it's funny that it's not funny because now that Rhaena is back with the family, I'm actually looking forward to what they do with her.
Me
It
too.
took 2 seasons, but we fucking finally got there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that should be fun. I will say, very weird of Rhaenyra to get back to King's Landing after that battle where Cyrus got very injured and didn't even bother to check on him. I'm like, okay, cool, fuck him, I guess. Fuck
They'll
Cyrus.
heal. Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, what's last? Do you want to talk about the Daemon stuff? With also we have the Bela stuff.
Um, no, yeah. What other demon stuff do we have?
Well, I mean, we've touched on it, but like, I don't know if you want to dive into it more with the Rhaenyra.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you didn't hear me, but yeah, I liked seeing Damon apologize and have like a heart to heart with her, being like, I was just trying to be a father, a position that I haven't been well at, as he says, like I haven't been the best father. I was trying to be a best father. I wasn't trying to betray you. I was scared. And she's like, you were scared of me. What do you think I was going to do? And I do love that response. Like, what did you really think Rhaenyra was capable of doing to Rhaena? Which we've all said from the beginning. So I like that she's challenging him on that.
Yeah, I like that, and I also like it because of it's very reminiscent of the scene between Rhaenyra and Alicent when she sent her to do her deed with Aemon. Um, you know, he that's when she finds out about the baby, about Maelor, or potentially Maelor, and you know, she keeps saying like, "Oh, like, what type of person do you think I am?" type of thing. And I mean, she does kind of like go against her word and say like, "Well, if I have to, I might have to like kill it anyway." But yeah, I really like that scene. I think Damon, Matt Smith, and Emma, they're wonderful anytime that they're together. Really, how can I say this? Heartbreaking that Rhaenyra doesn't. It's at a point in her life as queen where she might feel like she can't trust anybody, even though like she understands where Daemon is coming from with Rhaena, with the whole Rhaena battle. She feels like she isn't safe to the point, like, I mean, at least that's how I read it, in the sense of like, I don't know if I can trust you, so I need somebody else in the room with me if you're gonna confront me about this type of thing. Which, you know, that's why the maid Linda stays there behind.
Great comedy as well. Don't leave the room, and then the camera zooms in on her as Damon and Rhaenyra are arguing.
She's just like her reaction, like The Office.
Yeah, it's peak Office. She's like looking down at the camera, at the ground, like, I shouldn't be here. I what should I say? It's just so funny. And then Damon looks at her before he leaves. It's so good, man. So good. But yeah, Rhaenyra does seek comfort in the end with Mysaria. Is Mysaria the person that Rhaenyra trusts the most in this moment? Yes, no, maybe so. Great scene between them as well again. But I'm curious to see, because again, you know, Rhaenyra does. Let's end the conversation on like, you know, Rhaenyra says like, "Do you think I would have done something like this?" But we also see Rhaenyra not ruling well. Like there are things that Rhaenyra just continues not to do well, not having these partitions with people. You know, really angrily talking to Helaena. Like there are things that are just like keep hitting Rhaenyra, and again, she's hit with awful circumstances, but a lot of her decision making is her own, and it's not very good here. So I like that she's grappling with Viserys, or like not being like Viserys, grappling with Daemon's betrayal, Mysaria pitting her against Daemon. Like she recognizes all of this, but at the end of the day, she doesn't do anything about it besides just sleep with Mysaria to get her worries away. It's very human. That's what I liked about Rhaenyra this season. Like a lot of her disagreements and a lot of her situations, it's a lot of human reactions. Especially the phenomenal Rhaenyra only episode. It's just like she's dealing with it on a human level. The show is very, very, very putting that in the spotlight, and I'm enjoying it on that end.
Yeah. I really like this episode. I think I mentioned this before our live stream got interrupted, the last one. But any issues that I think I might have with this particular episode, I think it's more of a structural thing than the actual problem with the episode itself.
How so?
Like the stuff with Rhaena, where I feel like that should have happened a while ago. Even like some stuff with like Christian Cole, I feel like really we could have dealt with that earlier, like having his death happen earlier. Because even though I like his scenes with Wayne, they did start to become
Repetitive.
repetitive. And I feel like if we would have not necessarily condensed, but done some of this work earlier, it would have freed up some space for other things. Like one of the things that one of the reasons why the butcher's ball with Cole didn't really fully hit me is because the show is asking me to root for the characters that are gonna kill him, but like I like Roddy Dustin, I like Black Alley, they're cool, but beyond being cool, I don't really know anything about themselves as characters.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the, and again, some of it has to do with having to deal with the 2 episodes being cut from season 2, and all of this mess. But I feel like if we would have like been able to like bring some of these storylines earlier, some of these arcs earlier, we would have been able to free space for other things. And again, like my issues with the show, I think it has been like mostly just structural, and some of it is like the writing, and all of a lot of it has to do with just the unfortunate series of events that lead us to where we are right now. But I'm really
Yep.
excited for next week, final episode, season finale, season 3. Another 2 years until season 4, most likely. At least we'll have a Night of the Seven Kingdoms next January, most likely.
Most likely.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Beyond excited to get a battle episode. Like my favorite episodes of this universe are the ones where we just have people, talking to each other. But it'll be interesting to have a. I don't think we've ever had an episode, like a battle episode with the finale of one of these seasons of the shows.
Not yet. Yeah.
So this will be a first, definitely for this universe. Should be fun to see. Hopefully it's a long one. I think they've been doing a solid job with like, being at least an hour, close to an hour. So I'm hoping for a little bit of a longer episode. I really want to see what happens with Ulf, Tumbleton, Ormond, Darren. Everything is colliding next season. Rhaenyra finding out about Aegon, most likely. We'll see. So yeah, it's gonna be an exciting time.
Exciting one. But yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter, Harris EV9. Talking all things movies, anime, TV. Yeah, House of the Dragon is ending. I'm sad. But at least we have a good fantasy show coming up in a couple months in November with Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, and you can find me at EDG or TEG, social medias. You can find some of my written work at a lot of clear reviews and the cinema spot. We'll be back next week for the finale. You can follow this podcast at WHFG Podcast and like, subscribe, go listen to us. If you don't want to look at us, you can listen to us on your favorite app of choice, Spotify, Apple, and all of that shit. But yeah, we will see you in a week, and we will see you tomorrow for what we watch in the months of July. We're already in August, so Odyssey, Spider-Man, Minions. What else? So yeah, we'll see you tomorrow and next week.